Book of Heaven, Volume 27, Part 1. JMJ. Fiat. In voluntate Dei. Deo gratias. September 23rd, 1929. One who lives in the divine will, in her littleness, encloses the all, and gives God to God. The Divine Prodigies. The divine will absorbs me in everything, and as much as I feel reluctance in writing, the omnipotent Fiat, with its empire, imposes itself over me, a little creature, and with its divine lordship, it conquers me. It knocks down my will, and placing it at its divine feet like a footstool, with its sweet and strong empire, it induces me to write a new volume, while I thought I would take a break. Oh, adorable, ruling, and holy will, since you want the sacrifice, I do not feel the strength to resist and to fight against you. But rather, I adore your dispositions, and dissolving myself in your holy volition, I pray you to help me, to fortify my weakness, and not to permit that I write anything but what you want, and the way you want it. Oh, please, may I be your repeater, and may I add nothing of my own. And you, my love in the sacrament, from that holy cell through which you look at me, and I look at you, do not deny me your help while I write, but come to write together with me. Only in this way will I feel the strength to begin. I was doing my usual round in the creation, to follow all the acts that the Supreme Volition had done in all created things. And my sweet Jesus, coming out from my interior, told me, "My daughter, when the creature goes through the works of her Creator, it means that she wants to recognize, appreciate, love what God has done for love of her. And having nothing to give him in return, while going through his works, she takes the whole creation, as though in the palm of her hand, and she gives it back to God, intact and beautiful, for his glory and honor, saying to him, 'I recognize you. I glorify you by means of your own works, that alone are worthy of you.' Now, our delight in seeing ourselves recognized in our works by the creature is such and so great, that we feel as if the creation were being repeated again, to give us double glory. And since this double glory is given to us, because the creature recognizes our works done for love of them, and given to them as gift, so that they would love us, by recognizing our gift, the creature encloses the all in the heaven of her soul, and we see, within her littleness, our divine being, with all our works. More so, since our divine Fiat, being present in the littleness of this creature, she has capacity and space to be able to enclose the all. And oh, prodigy to see the all enclosed in the human littleness, and to see her, brave, giving the all to the all, only to love him and glorify him. That the all of our Supreme Being be the all, there is nothing to be surprised about, because such is our divine nature, to be all. But the all in the human littleness is the wonder of wonders. These are prodigies of our divine volition, that wherever it reigns, it cannot make of our divine being a being by half, but the whole of it. And since the creation is nothing other than an outpouring of love of our creating Fiat, wherever it reigns, it encloses all its works, and therefore the human littleness can say, I give God to God. This is why, then, when we give ourselves to the creature, we want everything, even her nothing, so that upon her nothing our creative word may be repeated, and we may form our all over the nothing of the creature. If she does not give us everything, her littleness, her nothing, our creative word cannot be repeated, nor is it decorous and an honor for us to repeat it. Because when we speak, we want to get rid of anything that does not belong to us. And when we see that she does not give herself completely, we do not make her our own. And so she remains the littleness and the nothing that she is, while we remain with the all that we are. After this, I continued my abandonment in the Supreme Fiat, but I felt sad because of certain things that it is not necessary to say on paper. And my always lovable Jesus, moved to compassion for me, clasped me in his arms, and all love told me, oh, how dear to me is the daughter of my will. Now you must know that sadness does not enter into my divine will. My will is perennial joy, that renders the dwelling in which it reigns peaceful and happy. Therefore this sadness, though I know it is because of me, is old stuff from your human will. And my divine will does not receive the old stuff in your soul, because it has so many new things that the space of your soul is not enough to put them all in. So, out your sadness, out. Oh, if you knew how many rare beauties my divine will forms in the soul. Wherever it reigns, it forms its heaven, its sun, its sea, and the little wind of its divine refreshment and freshness. Being the insuperable artisan, it has within itself the ability of the art of creation. And when it enters into the creature to form its kingdom, it has such a yearning to repeat its art, and so it lays the heavens within her. It forms the sun and all the beauties of creation. In fact, wherever it reigns, it wants its own things, and it forms them with its art. And it makes itself be surrounded by works worthy of my Fiat. Therefore the beauty of the soul in whom it reigns is indescribable. Does this not happen also in the human order? When someone does a work, by doing it, he does not lose his art. The art remains inside the creature as his own property, and he has the virtue of repeating his work as many times as he wants to repeat it. And if the work is beautiful, He yearns to have the occasion to repeat his work. Such is my divine will. The work of creation is beautiful, majestic, sumptuous, full of order and unspeakable harmony. Therefore it keeps looking for the occasion to repeat it, and this occasion is given to it by the souls who give it possession, to let it dominate and extend its kingdom within themselves. Therefore, courage. Move away from you anything that does not belong to my divine fiat, that it may be left free in its divine work. Otherwise, you would form clouds around yourself that would prevent my light from expanding and shining in your soul with its refulgent rays. September 28th, 1929, the first kiss, outpouring between mother and son. How all created things contain each its own outpouring. How, for one who lives in the fiat, it is continuous creation. Divine contentment. I was praying my round in the creation and redemption, and my little intelligence paused when my charming little baby, in the act of coming out of the maternal womb, flung himself into the arms of the celestial Mamma, and feeling the need to make his first outpouring of love, he surrounded the neck of his Mamma with his little arms and kissed her. The Divine Queen also felt the need to make her first outpouring of love toward the Divine Infant, and she returned to him the maternal kiss with such affection as to feel her heart come out of her chest. These were the first outpourings that mother and son made. I thought to myself, who knows how many goods they enclosed in this outpouring? And my sweet Jesus, making himself seen as a little baby, in the act of kissing his Mamma, told me, my daughter, how I felt the need to make this outpouring with my Mamma. Indeed, everything that has been done by our Supreme Being was nothing other than outpouring of love. And in the Virgin Queen, I centralized all our outpouring of love that we had in creation, because since my divine will was in her, she was capable of receiving, with my kiss, this outpouring of ours, so great, and of returning it to me. In fact, only one who lives in my divine will centralizes within herself the continuous act of all creation, and the attitude of pouring it back into God. To one who possesses my divine will, I can give everything, and she can give me everything. More so, since as we issued the creation in an outpouring of love in order to give it to the creature, it lasts and will always last. And one who is in my divine will is as though present in our house, receiving the continuity of this outpouring of ours with the continuous act of all creation. In fact, in order to preserve it as we made it, it is as if we were always in the act of creating it, and of saying to the creature, this outpouring of ours, of having created so many things, says to you, I loved you, I love you, and I will always love you. And the soul who lets herself be dominated by our divine volition, upon its wings, unable to contain this, our outpouring of love so great, also pours out and says to us, repeating our same refrain, "In your will I loved you, I love you, and I will always love you, always." In fact, aren't all created things outpourings of love that our Fiat, as first actor, attested to the creature? Outpouring of love is the azure sky, and by remaining always stretched out, studded with stars, without ever fading or changing, it gives forth our continuous outpouring of love toward the creature. Outpouring of love is the sun, and it pours out our continuous love by filling all the earth with light, and all the effects it produces that are innumerable are continuous and repeated outpourings that it attests to the creature. Outpouring of love is the sea, and as it murmurs, it repeats its gigantic waves, now placid, now stormy. And as it produces so many fish, these are nothing other than continuous outpourings of our love. Outpouring of love is the earth, and as it rips open to produce flowers, plants, trees, and fruits, our love continues its ardent outpouring. In sum, there is not one thing created by us in which there isn't the continuous outpouring of our love. But who is aware of so many outpourings of ours? Who feels herself being invested by our creative strength and touches our inextinguishable flames with her own hand, to the point of feeling the need to requite us with her own loving outpourings for her Creator? One who lives in our divine Fiat. For her it is continuous creation. She feels the power of our creative strength that, operating in her, makes her touch with her own hand how her Creator is in act of creating continuously for love of her, making her feel his outpourings never interrupted in order to receive her requital. But who can tell you our contentment when we see that the creature, by possessing our divine Fiat, receives and recognizes these outpourings of ours, and she, unable to contain the great excess of love of our divine outpourings, within our very outpouring of love, forms her own outpouring toward her Creator. Then we feel as though repaid for everything we did in creation. We feel her, in her delirium of love, saying to us, "Adorable Majesty, if it were in my power, I too would like to create for you a heaven, a sun, a sea, and everything that you created, to tell you that I love you with your same love and with your own works, because a love that does not operate cannot be called love. But since your divine volition gave me everything of all that you created, I give it back to you to tell you that I love you. I love you." And so the harmony, the exchange of gifts, the order, returns between Creator and creature, as it was established by God in creation. Now you must know that by doing His will, man lost the order, the harmony, and he lost the rights of the gift of creation, because only in one in whom my divine will reigns, since my will is the creator of all creation, wherever it reigns, since the creation is its own, it gives it to the creature by right. But one in whom it does not reign can be called an intruder in its works, and therefore cannot act as the owner, nor give to God what does not belong to her. Nor can she feel all the outpourings of love that exist in the creation, because she does not have our divine will in her possession that tells her our love story. Without our divine volition, man is the true little ignorant one of his Creator, and like the little pupil without teacher. Oh, how painful it is to see man without our fiat. More so since our creation is our speaker. It is the bearer of our loving kisses, of our affectionate embraces. Oh, how my humanity felt all this while being on earth. As I would go outside, the sun would give me the kiss that my own will had deposited in its light in order to give it to creatures. The wind would give me the caresses, the embraces that it contained in deposit from my own divine will. All creation was brimful with divine charisms to give them to creatures, and my humanity received everything, giving in return, so as to give vent to so many kisses repressed, embraces rejected, and love unrecognized for so many centuries. In fact, since my divine will was not reigning, man was incapable of receiving the good that my will itself had placed in all creation. And my humanity, possessing my same divine will, gave it the first outlet, and received and gave the requital for everything that my same divine will had placed in all creation. And so this is why, as I would go outside, all created things would make feast, and competing with one another, they would give me what they possessed. Therefore, be attentive, and take to heart only living in my divine will, if you want to feel vividly what your Jesus tells you about my supreme fiat. October 2nd, 1929. Only the divine will renders the creature happy. One pray to the other. One who does not have the true will to do a good is a poor cripple, and God does not want to make use of him. My abandonment and living in the divine fiat continues. Oh, how powerful is its creative strength! Oh, how dazzling is its light, that penetrating into the inmost fibers of the heart, invests them, and caressing them, it makes space for itself, and raises its throne of dominion and of command, but with such enrapturing sweetness that the littleness of the creature remains vanished, but happy to remain without life and dissolved in the divine fiat. Oh, if all knew you, oh, adorable will, oh, how they would love to become lost in you in order to reacquire your life and be happy of the very divine happiness. But while my littleness was dissolving in the divine fiat, my lovable Jesus moved in my interior, and clasping me very tightly to his divine heart, told me, "My daughter, only my divine will can render the creature happy. With its light, it either eclipses or puts to flight all evils, and says with its divine power, 'I am perennial happiness. Flee, you, all evils. I want to be free, because before my happiness all evils lose life.' With one who lives completely in my divine volition, its love is so great as to transform the actions of the creature, and an exchange of life takes place between God and her, an exchange of actions, of steps, of heartbeats. God remains clasped to the creature, and the creature to God. They become inseparable beings, and in this exchange of action and of life, the game is formed between creator and creature. One makes oneself prey to the other, and in this becoming prey to each other, they play in a divine manner. They make each other happy. They make a feast, and God and the creature sing glory. They feel victorious because no one has lost, but one has conquered the other. In fact, in my divine will, no one loses. Losses do not exist in it. Only of one who lives in my will can I say that she is my amusement in creation, and I feel victorious in lowering myself to let myself be conquered by the creature, because I know for sure that she will not be opposed to letting herself be conquered by me. Therefore, let the flight in my will be always continuous." After this, I was thinking about many things that blessed Jesus had told me about his divine will, his many ardent yearnings to make it known, and how, in spite of the many yearnings of Jesus, nothing would arise to obtain his intent. And I said to myself, what wisdom of God! What profound mysteries! Who can ever comprehend them? He wants it. He is sorrowful because there is no one who opens the way for his will to make it known. He shows his heart yearning, longing for his divine will to make its way, so as to make itself known, to form its kingdom in the midst of creatures. And then, as if he were an impotent God, the ways are barred, the doors are closed, and Jesus tolerates, and with invincible and unspeakable patience, he waits for doors and ways to open, and he knocks at the hearts in order to find those who will be the ones who will occupy themselves with making his divine will known. But while I was thinking about this, my sweet Jesus, making himself seen, all goodness and tenderness, such as to break the hardest hearts, told me, "My daughter, if you knew how much I suffer when I want to form my works and make them known to creatures in order to give them the good they contain. And I find no one who has true enthusiasm, genuine desire, and the will to make my work his life in order to make it known, so as to give to others the life of the good of my work that he feels within himself. And when I see these dispositions in one who must occupy himself with it, whom I call and choose with so much love for the works that belong to me, I feel so drawn to him that in order that he may do well what I want, I lower myself, I descend into him, and I give him my mind, my mouth, my hands, and even my feet, that he may feel the life of my work in everything. And as life that is felt, not as something extraneous to him, he may feel the need to give it to others. My daughter, when a good is not felt within oneself as life, everything ends up in words, not in works, and I remain outside of them, not inside, and therefore they remain like poor cripples, without intelligence, blind, mute, without hands and without feet. And I, in my works, do not want to make use of poor cripples. I put them aside, and heedless of time, I continue to go around in order to find those who are disposed, who must serve my work. And just as I did not get tired of going around the centuries and the entire earth in order to find the littlest one, so as to place in her littleness the great deposit of the knowledges about my divine will, so will I not get tired of going around the earth over and over again to find the true disposed ones, who will appreciate as life what I have manifested about the divine fiat. And these will make any sacrifice in order to make it known. Therefore I am not the impotent God, but rather that patient God who wants that my works be done with decorum, and by people who are willing, not forced. Because the thing I abhor the most in my works is the unwillingness of the creature, as if I did not deserve their little sacrifices. And for the decorum of a work so great, that is that of making my divine will known, I do not want to use poor cripples. In fact, when one does not have the genuine will to do a good, it is always a mutilation that he does to his soul. But I want to use people who, as I provide them with my divine members, would do it with decorum, as a work that must bring so much good to creatures, and great glory to my majesty, deserves. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 27, Part 1. Fiat.